Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Plenary 5, Equality and Economic Empowerment. In this session, we are going to look into some ways that could help women increase their productive earning power and develop inclusive communities, reduce poverty and violence, and most importantly, to empower girls and women.
Because I think that is an issue that really needs addressing. So the head of the corporate sustainability of HSBC Bank in Taiwan is with us today. She's responsible for community investment projects, charitable donations, and employee volunteering programs. She's also been involved in education program for deprived youth and women who have suffered from domestic violence. They learn financial matters and they are trained in employability, which I'm sure you understand are two very important issues. Her work has helped the bank to win an award in excellence in social responsibility. And I guess we can sum her up as a woman who has access to funds and who has her heart in the right place for social matters. So a great combination if you ask me. Please welcome Ruth Chinyu Lee.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm from HSBC Taiwan. It's my honor to represent the company to attend this meaningful conference here. And today, I will take this opportunity to show you the role of HSBC as a corporation to take action to address gender equality and, most important, the empowerment of deprived women's ability in Taiwan. Okay, let's start the presentation. First one. Okay, and to begin my presentation, I will take a few minutes to talk about the diversity and inclusion as a core value and culture in HSBC. From the top down, we have policy in place to show every employee in HSBC to respect everyone with no discrimination, of course, and to support everyone's opportunity to work with HSBC equality. And in addition to that, we try to build a diversity and inclusion culture to a better workplace in HSBC. And from the bottom up, we also have employee networks focused on gender, of course, age, LGBT, and working parents, and career and ability to create a better workplace for all employees can enjoy their life with HSBC. And of course, we do a lot of efforts to make commitment internally and externally. And today, I will take opportunity to share our externally partnership with the Garden of Hope Foundation in Taiwan. How we do to empower the deprived women in Taiwan. And to begin this presentation, I will show you a little bit about how we start our partnership with GOH. Okay, it's all back to the 9 years ago, and I still remember when I joined HSBC in 2008, I'm working on the sustainability and volunteering program, and I'm thinking about how to make our employees to join, to raise their awareness, as well as the company did. So back to the 2011, we start a volunteering program, and I still remember the phone call I made to get in touch with the staff of the Garden of Hope Foundation. And we try to initiate a program as a volunteering we can engage our staff through the volunteering experience to gain their awareness, to know more about the gender equality. And of course, they will have chance to work with the deprived women who are supported by the GOH. So you can see, through these years, we have supporting a lot of areas, including the charity bazaar and administration, working with the staff of GOH, and the preparatory employment workshop with the deprived women together, and also support of every kind of events and activities, and the sharing, of course, sharing our employees' financial expertise and their life experience with the youth and the deprived women in Taiwan. And through these areas, our employees gain more and have better understanding of what we do, HSBC's donation projects. And of course, the most important women organization in Taiwan, Government Hope Foundation, what they have support the youth, kids, and women in Taiwan. I'm so proud of that. Many of our employees joined this volunteering program. Through these years, we have more than 5,500 staff join and contributing more than 27,000 hours in every kind of areas I just mentioned. And that is the first step. We engage our staff to join this big partnership with the Government Hope Foundation. And of course, more than that, we also have some kind of in-kind donation working with our staff. And we have the charity bazaar in office to raise money. And we have some donation of our used computer equipment to GOH. And I believe some of their employees, their workers, they still have used the computers from HSBC Taiwan. And we also have some daily necessities donated by our staff to support kids and women in shelters supported by GOH around Taiwan. And in addition to that, we have developed more solid projects through our donation budget to work with GOH. Oh, I forgot to mention the cookies. You can see the cookies made by GOH, and that is really delicious and beautiful because that is totally tailor-made for HSBC staff, for everyone. That is the 2013. We have a CEO surprise gift for every employee in Taiwan, and we work with GOH, the preparatory work employment workshop, and they made it by hand to create each one of HSBC staff's name on each one of the cookies. So everyone have their name in the cookie. I think that is meaningful because every HSBC staff know that is from Golden Hope Foundation, made by the deprived woman. So that is I still remember the cookies. I still keep that. Okay. And I'm talking about the donation project. I think that is the most important thing because we have funding from HSBC Group and the local as well. And the focus of this project, because we focus on the kids and youth and women in Taiwan, and that is a partnership with GOH. Why we do that? Because we think that is a very important issue, not only addressed by the UN, since the gender equality is the fifth goal, and also that is kind of value, and culture embedded in HSBC. So we think that is a time to kick off some projects to work with the third party to create more social impact. And that's why we start our first program to get the funding from HSBC Future First Fund. And that program is targeting kids, youth, who have been exposed to domestic violence in Taiwan. I think that is the first step because we think these kids get not so much attention from the society and the government because it's not so easy to identify the victim, the survivor. And so we start our first step targeting this kind of group. And that is a project we think is just a beginning, but it's very important because we have, through the project, we have more than 1,600 kids get support from the project in 2013. And we create 5 groups, workshops, and help 49 families through the project. And following, we also focus on, because of the Future First, HSBC Future First Fund. So we focus on the other kind of group in Taiwan. That is the pregnant teenage girl and the teenage parents. They are kind of another group who didn't get a lot of attention, but it's kind of a social issue here. And we work with GeoEdge to give them more support and resources. And the project went very well. And we also printed more than 1,000 booklets to talk about gender issues and to provide some support and resources and information for teenage girls and parents. And more than 28,000 people get involved of our educational program and events through this project. And following, we have the HSBC Youth Opportunities. So you can see the transformation from the Future First and to Youth Opportunity. We focus on the opportunity now, and you can see we still put our resources to support teenage parents and give them more support in terms of financial and physical counseling and the social supporting system and services, trying to help them back to school. Some of them just drop the school, and we encourage them to back to the school to finish their high school diploma. And we also have a big program from 2015 to 2018, supporting our youth, children and youth actually, affected by domestic violence. Through this 3 years program, I think that is a huge achievement we have made together with GeoEdge, and more than 72,000 youth get services from this program, get benefits, and more than 560 families also benefit from that. So that is the projects we work with GeoEdge since 2013. And you can see that is the kind of educational approach donation projects. We address this issue to focus on the kids, youth, women. And I want to take more time to talk about the strategy, sustainable strategy in HSBC, the transformation from simply education to future skills. In 2017, we reshape our strategy in HSBC, and we talk about future skills because we think future skills will provide not only our customer, our employees, but also our communities with more skills needed to succeed in a global economy. That's the definition why we define the future skills. For future, you need more skill to adapt the work. And how we define the skills we will focus on. The first one is financial capability, how to manage your money well, and you need to have some tools and you have some methodology to build up. And the other one is employability. I think everyone in your life journey, employability is quite important because you need to make money to pay your bill, right? Everyone needs that. So employability, of course, is a very important part in our HSBC Future Skills strategy. And through this two strategy approach, HSBC makes some commitment, and we try to help 1 million people increase their financial capability, their skills by 2020, and we will provide US $35 million in the project we support. And in terms of employability, of course, we target 1 million people again to develop their employment-related skills, as well as providing US 80 million in funding, such like the project here we work with GeoEdge. And the most important thing is we need our staff to be part of it. So volunteering is always the key, the core elements for our projects. We want our employees to be part of it, to join, to know, to have better understanding of what the company did and the social issues we need to pay more attention to address, to make some change, to make some impact. And through the HSBC Future Skills strategy, we just change a little bit, or we can say enhance the project, working with the Gardner Foundation. And you can see the Future Skill Focused Donation Project, we will focus on financial capability. And we start last year, we have the financial literacy program and saving program for Taiwan youth. And we enhance our frontline social workers to enhance their ability to address these kind of issues. And we conduct a workshop to increase youth understanding and the saving program to help them better manage their money. And in terms of employability, we just get the funding this year, and we are starting now with GeoEdge employment and economic independency program for disadvantaged women in Taiwan. That is a huge project because we are trying to make more resources and support to help them get jobs. I think that is very important things because as you are the leaders, experts, and frontline social workers of women organization, you know these women, they need more confidence to get rid of domestic violence or to have a better life. But the base or the foundation they will need is economic independence. So we thought this project will help them to build more skills to fit in, to get a job in the workplace or increase their salaries in the society. And my time's up, and so in conclusion, I think through the donation project since 2013 till now, in Taiwan, we have made some total donation more than US $1 million. I think that is our a little bit feedback to the society to address this issue. And the most important is joining hands with the Golden Hope Foundation. We are very appreciate have the kind of opportunity to work with such extraordinary organization to work with how to make deprived women have a better life and in their life journey. So thank you for your time to listen to a little bit sharing from HSBC Taiwan. Thank you.
Ruthie, thank you very much. Please join me here. I heard you mention cookies at some point, and I thought you were going to be like Oprah Winfrey. You get a cookie, you get a cookie. But you didn't do that?
Sorry, I cannot make cookie by myself.
What a lame excuse. Well, the gentleman, come here, please. Come here, please. You have stressed the importance of employability and financial capability. Can you run us through the process that HSBC has gone through to focus on that?
Okay. As I just mentioned in my presentation, I think that approach from educational approach to the future skills, I think that is a long process because we observe and I get a feedback from the foundation. The process we are helping deprived women in Taiwan, we build up their confidence first, right, through education program, and then they got a confidence to get by the society or live the family with some violence, and they need to be independent. Yeah, because some of them rely on their husband.
This is what we want to eliminate. We want them to be truly independent. I understand that. Having said that, there is a growing problem with what should we say, with working poverty, especially women in low-paid situations. Does your bank have a strategy to combat that?
Yes, again, we back to the strategy of financial capability and employability. That's why we start the projects to enhance their financial capability. You should know how to manage your money, right? I think that is a long journey for everyone, even for me, for myself, I still learn.
We learned 2 years ago, really. No, this is true.
Yes, and of course they need to be trained to enhance their skills. Otherwise, they will stick in the low-paid job. Right. So in the new program, we work with GeoEdge. We will providing a lot of service to support their skills upgraded, and we will do some workshop and have some group work to then share their experience and to exchange. And we will have some career fair to introduce more employers to introduce the ability they will seek for and the opportunity maybe they can looking for.
So actually you train them and they train other people. Each one teach one is what we say. Thank you so very much. Ruth Lee, thank you very much.
Thank you to Alice. Thank you to our keynote speaker. Thank you. All right, now I would like to invite 4 panel speakers to join us for more discussion on equality and economic empowerment. Firstly, we have Dr. Nina Smart, who is a human rights activist, sociologist, and author who educates people about female genital mutilation and works very hard to eradicate the practice in Sierra Leone. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Nina Smart. Please have a seat. We also have Nafula Wafula, who is a fierce advocate for gender equality, human rights, and social justice in Africa. She is currently the Vice Chairperson for Policy and Advocacy at the Commonwealth Youth Council. Nafula Wafula, let's welcome her. Yes! And we also have Liu Guojun from Taiwan, who is the first woman to become a qualified baseball umpire in Taiwan. She was recently honored with an IOC Women in Sports Award by the UN, and she's currently the manager of the Garden of Hope's Resources Center, a second-hand charity store and social enterprise that offers employment and training opportunities to survivors of domestic violence. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Bo-Jun. Liu Bo-Jun. Yes. And we also have Mika Spangler here with us this morning, who is the UN Foundation's Director of Advocacy and Humanitarian Affairs, who engages with Congress, the administration, NGOs, businesses, and grassroots advocates to build support for a strong US-UN partnership across an array of humanitarian, refugee, migration, development, and peace and security issues. Come on out and join us in the front, Mika. Let's welcome Mika Spangler. All right, once again, we have 4 distinguished panelists with us this morning. We have Nina here, Nafula here, and also Bo-Jun, and also Mika. And I would like to start by asking 4 of you. When it comes to violence against women, a lot of people will point to the aspect of economy. And it would be like, they would say, if women can really be economically empowered, they are going to eventually achieve gender equality and eliminate oppression and also abuse from their lives. Do you think it's true? I would like to start from Nina. Yes?
Good morning, everyone. I'm very happy to be here and share with you information that I brought from Sierra Leone, where I serve women and girls escaping female genital mutilation, FGM. When it comes to economic empowerment of women, the Sierra Leonean case is very unique because in Sierra Leone, we need to redefine the idea of women empowerment and economic empowerment simply because FGM, female genital mutilation, has been regarded as a business in Sierra Leone. What that means is that some of us who work together with activists directly on the ground in Sierra Leone to eliminate the practice of female genital mutilation, we are directly affecting the women who earn the money and have the high social status, who are the cutters. In Sierra Leone, locally they are known as sewers. So if we are going to come in and ask them to abandon the knife and the practice of FGM, which is a human rights violation, then we have to come in with alternative ways of income for them, because this is their income and this is a business. So redefining the idea of women empowerment and economic empowerment of in Sierra Leone is the most important. We concentrate a lot on education. So my motto is education, not mutilation. And I will speak more about that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Alternative strategies and education. And what's your thoughts, Nafula? Oh, okay.
Good morning, everyone. So I think no. I think it is a major contributing factor, but I don't think that it is the magic bullet that will end violence against women. And the reason is because more often than not, we talk about economic empowerment, and we say that if we give women the bargaining power, that they will be able to just stand up and leave abusive relationships. But the reality is the gender norms, the stereotypical gender norms that allow sexual and gender-based violence to occur, and intimate violence, and intimate partner violence, domestic violence to occur, make it such that even women who have been economically empowered and are in the workspace still experience gender-based violence. So I think...
Yes.
So I think if we look at it in a vacuum, then you might argue that actually it can contribute to violence, because as women transition, and as a woman in a home, for example, gains a stronger voice or more bargaining power, then essentially what you're doing is you're changing the status quo in that situation and in that home. And I feel like what that does is that the response that it sort of gets is that violence becomes more, because then the perpetrator wants to show that, you know, I have power, you know, and I can dominate. So I think in a vacuum, no. But if it is part of a larger scheme, then yes, it does.
Thank you, Tunapula. Yes. And what about Boju? What do you think?
Good morning. And introduction, allow me to introduce myself. I work for the Garden Hall Foundation, and I'm very proud of that. And also, I'm the project manager of the new Garden Hall Foundation, the New Taipei Supply Center. And our foundation, as you know, during the conference, we help the girls and young women who are suffering from domestic violence, sexual assaults, and human trafficking. So we provide consolations and shelters. So during our work, especially in our early stages, and our women, young girls, after they leave our shelter, our service, in 6 months, 80% of them will come back our service again. So that's a huge number, I mean. So our foundation think our client, I mean our girls as a whole man. So we think about how to help them, you know, not just only consolation, leave and shelter. So we found the situation, so we try to solve it, I mean try to help them, you know. So we start an employment program, just like in my center. So we provide them not only the daily needs supply, the canned food, the diapers, milk powder, and unfortunately you cannot pay your rent and your other bills with diapers. So you have to pay cash and the credit card. So we provide them a job, I mean, in our center. So I would say our center is a customized service, I mean, because all of our clients, the girls, you know, they're suffering such huge trauma. So they don't not only just need the recover from their physical, but also mentally. And also they have to face the lawsuits. They have to raising the very young children. I mean that they have to face this difficulty. Yeah. So it's very difficult for them to go back to a regular workplace. I mean, it's hard. I mean, even for ourselves, and especially for those girls and women with huge challenge and trauma. So they come here, our center of foundation, we customize their job. I mean, sometimes I joke like, sometimes they have some mental, they emotionally reaction rapidly, and it's quite a long time. Probably they leave their job, they don't have work experience. So I would say, usually I would comfort them that even you cry here all day, we're gonna pay you. No worry about that. So they can start to work isolate. I mean, work in the storage, and then become a clerk, and easier for them to return the regular work. And I think if you see a person as a whole man, as a whole person, I mean, you cannot. We cannot just only need food, eat. We also need a sense of security. So economic provide them a sense of security. Also, the successful experience in our center, in their work experience, also help them to rebuild their self-esteem, confidence, and the motivations. And in our center, usually we, in these years, every year we have 6 to 17 girls work here and go back to a regular job. I mean, that I am very proud of that. That's very successful, tremendous numbers. And even we have clients, now they become our official staff, and they provide the speak this role model. They show women in a shelter that your life still have choice. You know, life is tough, but everything I go through, you know, a lot of people help them. We help them. Everyone we sit here, we help them. So I think so economic empowerment is not only economically, but also mentally. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you to Borjin, and thank you so much for what you do for the women and girls. And I also want to go to Mika for this question. What are your thoughts?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Everyone hear me? Okay. Great.
Yes.
Well, first I just want to thanks for having me. We have a rule at the United Nations Foundation that none of our to participate in what we call a manel. Anyone know what a manel might be? It's an all-male panel. So I was very happy to be invited here. No, I would not be breaking that rule at all. And a little bit more seriously, I want to say it's really awesome to be here because my mom actually worked in a domestic violence abuse shelter for about 8 years when I was growing up. A very formative time for me. And I actually called her this morning and told her about what I've experienced and the people I've been meeting. And we were talking about her time working there, and we were talking about some old stories. And anyone that knows, you know, she worked as a volunteer coordinator, but anyone that works in a shelter, you know, you end up doing a ton of different jobs. And so she ran the food pantry, she helped write small government grants, and I remember spending time in the shelter with her, meeting some of the families that she was caring for, helping get back on their feet, women and children that were in some of the most, you know, really complicated, tough situations in their lives. So I just want to say I completely understand the good work you do and really appreciate and happy to be here. My work at the foundation is really focused on ensuring that the U.S. is a strong supporter of the UN's work, particularly around gender equality, preventing gender-based violence, and protecting women and children that are really in conflict settings. We go to some of the hardest places, the most dangerous places in the world: Central African Republic, South Sudan, Mali, all across the world where the UN is operating. And these are in crisis, these are in war zones, and anyone that is doing this line of work, you know that usually women and young girls are the first victims in a crisis. They are targeted in ways that so many others aren't. So my work is definitely, the answer is certainly part of it, is making sure that the U.S. fully funds programs like UNICEF, the UN Refugee Agency, the World Food Program, so they can react sort of on the back end of when these crises happen. Because, as you know, the work you do is, I'm sure, chronically underfunded, perhaps even underappreciated. And I think the work that the UN does in that area is as well. So that's what we try to do, and I'll give another example next round.
Okay, thank you to Mika. Thank you. And yeah, so economic empowerment is very important, but only economic empowerment is not enough. We also have to work very hard to eliminate some of the traditional social norms or the stereotypical labels on women, and we should provide women more comprehensive services for them to really stand up on their feet again. Okay, the next question. I'm just wondering, do you have any success stories that you can share with us about how women really gain the earning power and eliminate or reduce poverty and also violence in their lives? I want to start from Mika.
Yeah, I think you really help economically empower women by economically empowering girls. And one of the key campaigns we have at the UN Foundation, I encourage you all to look them up and see if you might want to be interested and get involved, is our Girl Up campaign. Girl Up is a global network of girls. I kind of call them the sort of the progressive activist Girl Scouts. They're not just dedicated to changing sort of their communities, their schools, their campuses, but really helping girls in some developing countries, some girls that have maybe fewer opportunities than them to change their lives. So one specific example that we've worked on, and I think this is really incredible, is some of you may be aware of this issue, that a big barrier to girls becoming economically empowered, of course, is getting access to quality education. And one of the barriers to getting that access to quality education is a very simple thing called a birth certificate. In many parts of the developing world, a girl and boys, but predominantly girls, when they're born, they're not given a birth certificate. Sometimes they don't even have a legal identity. Of course, they don't know it at the time, but when it comes time for school, they don't have a record of the birth. They're not entitled to the human right of education. That, of course, creates a cycle of problems where if that girl's not in school, we all know she's more likely to be married earlier, to have children earlier, to be a victim of abuse. And it creates a problem that just keeps going on and on. So what Girl Up tried to do, and did end up successfully doing, is we've got girls from all over the country and actually all over the world. They put together a piece of legislation, a US piece of legislation called the Girls Count Act, which directed our US State Department to ensure that it's a priority that working with developing countries to make sure that those countries issue birth certificates to their girls, to their boys, upon their birth. They pushed this legislation for several years, and actually just a couple of years ago it was passed by the House, the Senate, and signed by President Obama. And now it is our purpose as the State Department to make sure that
Thank you, Rika. And Gafula?
So I will share from two perspectives very briefly. So one is from a grassroots angle, and the second one is from the Commonwealth perspective. So I am the Vice Chair for Policy and Advocacy at the Commonwealth Youth Council, and we represent 1.2 billion young people across 53 countries, most of which were former colonies of Britain. And the Commonwealth Youth Council works with a model that brings together different youth-led civil society organizations through youth networks. So we have a Youth and Gender Equality Network, which has identified and brought together grassroots level organizations that are working within the gender space. And many of them are young people who have created organizations or working with organizations that work in economic empowerment. And so for me, one is I have seen the value of empowering grassroots organizations and ensuring that they have access to funding. And not only using them when we need to share success stories, but ensuring that they are empowered enough to be able to do the work that they do. And so one of my biggest success stories is definitely the work I've been able to see through the Youth Council. But the second example that I'd like to share is, so I run a small organization back at home, and we do vocational skills training and employability skills, as well as life skills training for at-risk youth and girls who dropped out of school. Now, what this has done is we have taken courses that are predominantly viewed as through a very gendered lens. Yeah? So for example, cell phone repair courses. So we teach girls this course, and what it does is all of a sudden in a very male-dominated technical space, you have girls that are repairing cell phones. You know, and this does a lot for their self-esteem, but it also gives them the ability and the power to earn. And once they go back home, what it does is that it helps them, a lot of them, one, either go back to school, or two, improve their earning potential, and therefore it contributes to them not getting into violent or abusive relationships. So I think those two things. One is definitely engaging more with grassroots organizations, especially those that really look at issues that the ordinary women at the grassroots face, like access to land and access to finances, like micro enterprises. And two is looking at just creating more access to jobs and employability for women and girls. Thank you.
Thank you so much for bringing us along.
Thank you. I founded an organization called SWF International, servicing wildflowers to address the issue of female genital mutilation in Sierra Leone. So I'd like to share two stories from some of the work that we have done with our partners on the ground in Sierra Leone. The first one is about the Sowe, which is the woman who does the cutting in Sierra Leone, and we have worked with them in a collaboration with some of our partners on the ground to abandon the knife. But when we ask them to do that, we need to train them to actually have another source of income. So we brought funds, and thank you to everyone who has supported me through the book signing yesterday, and that's how I fund many of my projects. And they have, one of them, she has started a store in the city of McKinney, and the name of the store is Africa Store, and she was very proud that not only is she earning a lot, but she still has the high position that she held as a SOE, which is a very venerated position within the community, because everyone was coming to the store, buying her products, and then sharing stories about the community, asking her for her advice. We trained them through a similar vocational center, like she said, in Kenya, to teach the younger people in the community about basic hygiene, which is so important. And so she maintained her dignity in terms of the position, the social position that she was holding. And also we have many stories like hers, but this is one that I wanted to share. And also, I was fortunate enough to escape Fgm in 1991 in Sierra Leone. But towards the ending of my book, I do share the story of Nene. We call each other Fgm Twins, because while I was escaping and returning to my home country in Romania, Eastern Europe, unfortunately she was captured and caught, and she did undergo Fgm. And then she immigrated to the neighboring country because the war came, the civil war in Sierra Leone. However, when she returned, because of economic empowerment, she was able to start, together with funding from different supporters, the first and only safe house that exists in Sierra Leone that offers protection to women fleeing Fgm. When I did run away and try to escape, there was no safe house, there was no system, there was nobody to help. So I have dedicated my life to making sure that other women can have a place to go. And there is also vocational training, and we provide food and shelters, and if they bring their children, we reunite them with their children. So this is really very important. So her story, I feel, illustrates some of the hard work that we do, because in my many travels around the world, when I speak about Fgm, it feels very disconnected and somewhere out there in the world. But all of you who care about that, there are effective solutions to be able to do that. There's a direct connection, and there are success stories where some of us who escaped this harmful traditional practice, and some of us who did undergo the practice, collaborate, work together, we communicate on a daily basis, and we are working really hard to make sure that others do not have to face the horrors of Fgm. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And what are the stories you can share with us?
Sure. We have some very thoughtful story in our foundation, and just like I said earlier, that one of our clients become our official staff, and she was suffering the domestic violence, and our social work helped her to fix a relationship with her husband, and after the consultation and the private time service, so she now will have a second boy this month. Yeah. So also every day she works in our foundation as our colleagues. Actually, I think she empowers. I mean, we saw she was so suffering and in those days last year, but we give her an opportunity. She was a receiver from social welfare, but now she can be a giver. She is also a very good role model to other women, so that's really empowers. And I would like to share another story. Also early this year, she was pregnant at a very young age. Actually, she was under 18 when she got pregnant, and that's was very difficult for her. I mean, under age 18 and you're pregnant for 6 months, she needs income, but she cannot get any job. So she came to our foundation, we provide her a job, and actually she cannot lift any heavy things, so we just design her job to key in the receipt and propose some paperwork. And she worked for half a year, give birth, and during the work, she thought she'd probably be a housewife for her lifetime, and we encourage her that she's smart, she can have further studying. So we are very happy that she accepts what the value and what we encourage her. So after she gave birth and she go back to university, so at the daytime she deliver pizza. At the nighttime she go back to the night school for her college diploma. And in early this month, actually in February, she come back. She earned only $5 per hour, but she come back and donated $50 to our foundation. At the right time, our whole office, the whole office, we just jumped to hug her. That's so touchful time. She said she's so thankful to turning her life. She believed that she can pursue her own happiness. And she willing to help others, other girls like her before. So I was joking. I would say, I think they empower us to keep on our works. So that's so meaningful. We sit together here. We are really changing this world.
Thank you so much to Boydrin. And according to what I have here, the Government Hope's employment program is doing perfectly well. It helps reduce violence in women's life by 90%, and that's worth another big round of applause, isn't it? Okay, I keep seeing people holding up sign in the very back saying left. So I want to end our panel with one question from you, okay? I want to have one question from the crowd and have our 4 panelists respond to that question. Okay, let's do that. Anyone who has a question? We can only take one question. I'm sorry about that. Any questions? Anyone? Any questions?
I have a question, Raymond.
Hey, don't do that to me. Okay, I'll leave it to you, Alice. Can you ask one very important last question for us here?
It's about what we call microfinance.
Yes.
If that is a way to finance women to start their own small business and to be independent, I would like to ask because I know that our Dutch Queen is involved in that, so I was wondering how the panel feels about microfinance. Small
Yes.
loans, low rates.
Short response to Alice's question, microfinance. Mika?
Yeah, that's actually a perfect question. You all know who Mohammed Yunus is? Nobel Prize winner, kind of started the microfinance trend. He's on the UN Foundation board. So I have to say, yes, it's a massive, powerful tool. I've seen it up close in some developing countries where if you give someone just a small opportunity to change their lives, they will, and they pay that back, and it helps someone else down the road. It's a massive tool to change people's lives. Yeah.
Nafula?
Yes, I think so, 100%. Because when you look at banking and institutions, a lot of times banks need collateral. And in many cases, women don't have that collateral because you find situations where women don't have property or land that they can use as collateral. And so we need systems that are suited for the needs of women. And I feel like microfinances help. So for example, in Kenya we have, it's not really a microfinance, it's a company, it's called Safaricom, and we have a system called M-Pesa. And M-Pesa is mobile money. And it's a way in which it has distributed or made it easier for people to have money on their phone. So I can send money to my grandmother, for example, on my phone. But what that does is you essentially have a small bank in your phone, and the women are able to save money there, and they're able to access the money there with barely any interest rates. And the power that has had in rural Kenya, and even in the poorest communities, is absolutely magnificent. So I totally agree.
And what about you, Nina?
In Sierra Leone, microfinancing has worked. In fact, some of the projects that we have in the sowers, when you ask them to abandon the knife, we have to replace it with something. So of course we have advocated for that. And we do have some success results, but at the same time, it's not only the women that we have empowered, involving men and boys in the process of eliminating harmful traditional practices and also offering them small loans to be able to work together to share in this new world. It has been very successful for all our aims of eliminating harmful traditional practices.
Finally, Fortune.
In our experience, because we service girls suffering from the sexual abuse and domestic violence, so things complicated because they are trauma not only in physical but mentally. So not only Microfinance, of course, is a very successful idea. For example, earlier I said that she come back to donate, even we don't loan her. And but in our case, I was thinking about maybe we can also need assistance, but not loan them, but also probably work with them for quite a long time because they need some financial management, something to help them to make it's possible to succeed even more successful. Yeah, so I think my point is quite good, and I think it's really helpful. And because I believe if you have a girl, you have a family.
Thank you so much. I agree so much. And ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together once again for Rina, Dakula, Fortune, and Mika for their valuable yet valuable input in this session.
Thank you so much, Raymond, for leading this panel, and thank to our distinguished panel guests for sharing all their knowledge and insights with us. Thank you so much. I have a couple of things to mention to you, just of general stuff. First of all, I've been in contact with the GMWS women who would like to say thank you to everybody who has been to their booth so far to fill out the world map. Remember the world map? And many of you have let them know that you will answer their questions once you are back home, so they appreciate that. And anybody else who hasn't gone yet but still feels the opportunity to go, the booth is down the hall. And there have been a couple of names already coming in for that new website, that Worldwide Women's Web. So they're coming in, and remember that the winning name will receive a small prize from GNWS. And last but not least, GNWS says they are organizing a workshop about the national helplines, and that will be in a couple of minutes, 10:35, in room 304B. Then point two, the Taiwan Foundation for Democracy Luncheon will be in this room here at 12:05. So anybody wishing to attend that luncheon can pick up their Taiwanese lunchbox either in room 305 or outside room 301, which is where we are now. So the lunchboxes will arrive here at around 12 o'clock. Pick up your box, come back in here, eat your lunch, and enjoy a wonderful speech at the same time. Now, coming up later today, we have something I'm really excited about. The writer of the Vagina Monologues and her more recent work, The Apology, is here with us, Eve Ensler. She will deliver a keynote, and I will have the opportunity of asking her one or two questions. She will also be signing books later on in one of the breaks. And there will be workshops starting from 10:35, lunch in between, and much more. So see you all here back for the closing session, the closing ceremony, and that will all start at 3:30. Thank you for now. It's your time. See you later.